today's guest. Today's guest is Hope Ware. She is a professional writer and public speaker who's passionate about helping people learn to budget, set goals, and live with a spirit of joy and abundance. She and her husband have raised four sons debt free on a salary which was consistently under the national U.S. median income, including paying cash for their current home. You'll find practical money saving advice at her website underthemedian.com. When she's not writing or speaking, you can find Hope speed walking while humming songs of the 70s, creating vegan versions of American comfort food, singing jazz and spirituals with her friends and fellow musicians in the Heritage Ensemble. Welcome, Hope. So glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Tamara. I really appreciate you having me on the program. And I'm excited to share about grocery savings.
I am so excited about this conversation. So, right now, especially now with everything going on with COVID, a lot of us are spending more time at home and a lot of us are cooking more at home. So that is impacting our grocery budget. So do you have any tips on how we can kind of manage that?
Absolutely. And one of the things I think we've all noticed is every time you walk in the grocery store now, prices have inched up. And so if you pay attention to grocery prices, it's like, oh, well, that's a lot more than it was last week or last month. And so this is a question that I'm kind of dealing with a lot right now with people is how do I continue to feed my family healthy food and do it at a price that I can afford to pay? So the first thing that I ask is how much are you spending on groceries? So Tamara, if I were to ask you right now in front of all these people, how much do you spend on groceries? You would say
probably anywhere between $250 to $300 in a month, I would say.
That's really good because I know there are two people in your family. So it's you and your husband. $300 is a great grocery budget for a family of two.
Really?
A lot of the responses that I get, some people are out there and they're saying, I get a lot of they don't make eye contact and they say, I spend what I have to. So what that tells me is that they're not tracking what they're spending on groceries. You immediately knew what you were spending. So that tells me you have a plan. And you are tracking the money that you're spending at the grocery store. At least in some way, you're tracking it. So you had a pretty good idea of what you were spending. But a lot of people have absolutely no idea what they are spending. Now, another of the responses that I get is that people look at me and say, well, I spend what I have to. It is what it is. And it can't be lower. So if that's you, I want you to hang in there because I'm going to give you some tools to put in your tool belt so that you realize, wait a minute, maybe I can sort of inch that down a little bit. Maybe we can spend a little bit less than we are spending at the grocery store. Because one of the mistakes that people make is they feel trapped. They walk in the grocery store and feel like, well, that's what they're selling that item for, so that's what I'm going to spend, and that's just the way it is. But you don't have to feel like you are stuck, like you are trapped. Now, the final response that I get is people who say, look, walking in the grocery store just almost it gives me the vapors because I almost can't handle it right now. It's stressful. I feel like I don't have enough money to pay for groceries in the first place. And this is depressing. If that's you, I really, really get where you're at. I want you to understand that. And I want you to hang with me because I'm going to walk you step by step through 6 things that you need to know in order to reduce your grocery shopping costs. And then at the end, I have a really special offer. It's a free ebook that is going to go into even more in-depth tips and strategies than I am covering today on the program. So let's get started. So the first thing that you need to know is how much you are spending. That's the first question I asked Coach Tamara was, how much are you spending? You need to know that number. If you don't know that number, here's a quick and easy way to figure it out. Go online or just grab, if you still get like printed statements from the bank, all right, go online to your online bank or grab your most recent printed statement. Grab a highlighter. I had a highlighter here. I just misplaced it. Oh, here we are. Grab your highlighter. And I want you to highlight any of those expenses that were like at the grocery store. Don't worry about whether it was food or a household item that you bought at the grocery store. Just highlight it. And then I want you to just add all those items up. All of those numbers, add them up. That gives you a great starting point. It may not be your ending point, but that gives you something to go with, all right? So that gives you a really great idea of saying, all right, this is about what we're spending. Some people are afraid to do this. It's almost like thinking, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Yes, you do. You want to know what you're spending. You cannot change what you're spending until you know what you're spending. So that's the first know what you spend. Step 1, gather your receipts. Step 2, I want you to take that amount, that total on the paper, as good or bad as it is, and I want you to write a written goal. Why can't that goal just be in your head? Why can't you go, okay, I'm spending $1,500 a month on food, and you just know it in your head? Why do you need to write down, this is what I'm spending and this is what I would like to reduce it to? Because this is like so cool. Scientifically, there are some synapses in your brain that fire. And there are some connections that are made when you take something from just thinking it in your head to writing it down. You want it to be even stronger, write it down and say it out loud. Anytime you are teaching children saying they need to remember something or they need to learn something, that's what I tell my kids. Write it down and say it out loud, because then the connection becomes very real between your auditory, your oral, and your head and your brain. And all of a sudden, all those are working together and you will remember it and your brain will automatically prioritize it for you. So write it down. I always suggest that people my grocery budget. So, I have a family of 6 and I feed them on an average of $375 a month.
For 6 people?
Yes.
What?
So
Wow.
there are a lot of tips and strategies that I use in order to make that happen. Part of the reason is because, I'll be upfront, we are a whole food, plant-based family. So because I'm not spending money on meat or cheese or dairy or eggs, that does automatically, I admit that to people up front, that does lower my grocery costs overall substantially. It does. I'm not going to lie. But even if you're not vegan, there are so many things that you can do that can lower what you are spending on groceries that don't have anything to do with dietary preferences. So if you will do what I'm telling you to do and follow these steps, you will lower your grocery bills, no matter what way of eating that you are following. The average family of 4, by the way, Coach Tamara, what do you think? Family of 4, what are they spending a month on just food?
Maybe $750, $800 maybe.
They are spending an average of $1,300 a month on food.
What?
If you add in
Wow.
restaurant purchases to that number, it goes up to $1,700 a month.
So almost $2,000 a month in just food.
Right.
Wow. Wow.
So if you're watching and you are thinking, yep, I'm spending about $1,300 a month for my family of 4. Here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to look at the amount I'm spending, go to your family and really happily say, guess what, guys? We're going to lower our budget to $500 a month, because you are going to wind up frustrated 2 weeks in and you're going to wind up with a mutiny on your hand within about 3 weeks. So don't do that. What I do suggest people do is look at a percentage. If you're spending $1,300 a month, can you lower that $130? That's 10%. Yes, you easily can. That's a number that you can digest so your head doesn't freak out thinking, I can't go to the grocery store and buy anything. We're all gonna starve. So lower it a percentage. You can also, once you get used to that amount of money, you can lower it a little bit more and then lower a little bit more. So you will wind up saving a significant amount of money over time as you learn how to plan, how to shop, and how to cook. But don't take it in one big step, because you will wind up being very frustrated and give up. And I don't want that to happen. So when you make that written goal, make it a very palatable goal that I can do this, I can reach this goal. And your family will know that too. The third step under knowing what you spend is to create a family food pledge. What is this, and why do I tell people to do it? Because food is about more than nutrition. Food is how we express love and appreciation to our family. Food is how we connect at the end of the day with our kids and our husband. Food has a religious component. Depending on your religion, there are certain foods that you feel like I can eat or I'm going to choose not to eat. Food has a moral component. Those who are vegan, and now I went vegan for health reasons, but people who are vegan for moral reasons really feel very strongly about the way that meat is raised, produced, and eaten in the United States of America. So there's a moral component. The other thing to consider is, how does food and your buying and your use of food, how does that intersect with the wider community around you? So as you can see, food encompasses so many areas of who we are as a family. That's why I want you to think that through. Now, if you're trying to take notes and you're thinking, wow, she's giving a lot of things to think about all at once, I want to assure you that the free resource I'm going to offer you at the end of this program, actually, I walk you step by step through how and why to create a family food pledge. And I have a worksheet in there for you to sort of work through the process, and then a really nice page that you can print out that has your family food pledge on it. And then you can put that somewhere in your house so everybody can see it. So I want to just give you an example. Here's our most recent family food pledge. I'll just use it as an example. Family food pledge, by the way, it's like a living document. So you want to review it every once in a while and say, okay, does this still encompass who we are as a family and how we view food and how we will consume food and buy food in this family? And it will change over time. This is our current family food pledge. We will regularly create space in our schedule to eat together as a family and eat primarily a whole food, plant-based diet. We will practice being thankful for our food and waste no more than 3%. As much as possible, we will purchase from and support local businesses and small family-owned farms. In our home, we will encourage balanced eating, healthy habits, and maintaining a positive self-image. So you can see from that, all of those areas that I just talked about are actually incorporated into that one family food pledge. What that does is it helps your family come together as a team, so we all are on the same page and we understand, wait a minute, this is why we are doing that. The why is almost as important as the setting the goals. Because if you set goals and you don't know your bottom line why, you're not going to stick to those goals.
Right.
The second thing that you need to know in order to lower your food budget is to know what you have on hand. Now, this involves keeping a pretty good running inventory of what you have in your pantry, what you have in your freezer, and the shelf-stable food that you have or the perishable food, that you have in your refrigerator or on your counter. Because I always say on your counter too, because like my lemons are on my counter, my potatoes are on my counter. There are foods that actually are perishable that you have sitting on your counter. So perishable foods counts not only what you have on your counter, but what you have in your refrigerator. Keeping a really good running total of all of those things is super important to you lowering your food budget. Why? How does this help you lower your food budget? Because oftentimes we go shopping because, one, we don't know what else to do, and two, we really don't believe we have anything in the house to eat. Sort of a great comparison is how many times, Tamara, do you open your closet door, look in your closet and think, I have nothing to wear.
Exactly, I do.
Is that truth? Is that actual?
No.
No, it's not. No. It's the same thing with our food. We open our refrigerator and think, I have nothing to eat, so therefore I am going to the grocery store. But it's actually not true. The reason we think that is because we don't know what's actually in there.
Yeah.
So here are a couple of steps that you can take under knowing what you have on hand that you're going to find really super helpful. All right. You need to keep a current list of items that you have in your pantry, freezer, and your perishables. Now, if you request my freebie, I'm going to tell you that I am going to include access to the subscriber media library on my website, which has the forms that I use to track these things. So if you ask for the freebie, you're in. You can get my forms that I use. Once a week, I actually inventory my perishable items. Arrange your pantry like a store. I can tell you in 30 seconds or less exactly what is in my pantry and what is not in my pantry. Because I arrange the shelves so that all of the canned vegetables are together, the fruits are together, the condiments are together, the baking supplies are together, the sugar and sugar substitutes are together. Everything has its own space in the pantry, and all of my family knows how it's arranged. And when you put things away after a grocery trip, you need to know exactly where to put them. I also rotate my stock so that when I bring something new in, it goes to the back. So the things that have been in there for a while automatically make their way toward the front. Arrange your pantry. Arranging your freezer in the same way. Freezers are a little bit more difficult, I gotta admit, to arrange things like put all your meats together, put all of your vegetables together. It's harder, it is. But as much as possible, I try to do that in order to be able to know, okay, this is the section, especially if you have kids and you're like, go to the freezer and get me this. Being able to tell them like where to find that, like what area in the freezer is actually super helpful. But I will admit it's a little more difficult to do. And that's why keeping that list of freezer items up to date is really important for your freezer.
Oh, so you put, I don't mean to interrupt, but you put things that you put in the freezer, like things, if you're taking it, if they're not in the original package, do you somehow mark the date that they're going in there?
I do. I always tell people you need to mark what's on it because you would be amazed at how similar stuff looks when it's frozen. I got out what I thought were frozen apples and they were frozen peaches. We had peach cobbler instead of peach, instead of apple cobbler. It was all good. But I was like looking at it going, you know what, guys? I'm thinking this is not apples. Even though you think in your mind, we think, oh, I'm going to remember what that is. You don't. Greens. I freeze a lot of greens. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, collards look just exactly like turnip greens when they're frozen.
They do.
And so you have to not only label it as to what's in it, but put the date on the outside of that package. That's a great question. People think because things are in the supermarket packaging that it's okay to freeze in those packages. And really, supermarkets do not, as a whole, package things with the idea in mind that you're going to throw that in your freezer.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, even like those meat packages that are like, wrapped in cellophane, you are far better off if you're looking to avoid freezer burn, either sticking the whole package into a freezer bag and like double bagging it so that you've got the supermarket packaging and a freezer bag, or wrapping it in freezer paper, or taking it out one at a time. I'm all for, and of course I don't eat meat, but when I did eat meat, I would take the individual like chicken breasts out and package them one or two at a time, because that is a great way to tell yourself this is actually what constitutes a serving of meat. People don't realize that, like, your fist, that's a serving. And people don't, or a deck of cards, that's a serving of meat. People think in their mind that that's serving because of the way that Americans consume meat, that a whole chicken breast is a serving. Well, actually, you know what? That chicken breast probably actually constitutes 2 servings. So a way for your brain to know, wait a minute, this does constitute 2 servings, is to take, if you've got a great big old chicken breast and you've got 2 people, package 1 chicken breast. And when you get out, you know what? I'm going to thaw it. I'm going to add some veggies with it. I'm going to add some other things with it, some rice, things like that. It is going to make enough food, and there's going to be enough chicken in there that it will serve the 2 of us.
Yeah.
So I would encourage people, regardless, repackage.
Yeah.
Repackage, and package in serving size packages. Yeah. The third thing you need to know to lower your grocery budget is how to prioritize your fresh foods. Now, I'm going to lay something on you that's just going to, I know, it's another one of those statistics, Coach Tamara, that you're going to be going, what? Really? All right. The amount of food waste in the United States of America is 30 to 40% of all food across the board is wasted in the United States of America. Now,
30 to 40%.
30 to 40%. That is 8 billion with a B pounds of food every year.
Wow.
If you were to stack that food like on top of each other, it would be the equivalent of 1,000 Empire State Buildings.
Wow.
And, you know, you say statistics like that and people think, well, what does that mean for me? For you, here's what that means. The average family throws out $1,500 of food every year. Are you going to do that? Coach Tamara, if you are throwing out $1,500, I want you to throw it my way. I'm just saying. Right? Help the girl out. Throw it this direction. because that's the equivalent. And I tell people, so that's an average of $133 a month. If you're headed to the grocery store and you have your precious grocery money, are you going to open that car window and just let like $125 or so just float out the window and go, yeah, I'm good. I'm okay with that. I'm kind of not okay with that.
No.
So that's why our family, actually, and I mentioned it in our food pledge, we have a stated goal, a family goal of wasting no more than 3% of the food that comes into this house. The number one thing that is thrown out across the United States of America, and it probably doesn't surprise you, is produce.
Yeah.
Yeah. We go to the store and we have these great ideas because we're like feeling it. We've lost 10 pounds, 15 pounds. We're like, yeah, doing this healthy thing. I'm rocking it. And I am going to load that cart up with fruits and vegetables. And you get it home and 3 weeks later, you're like, well, that didn't go so well. You're throwing half of it out. Now, there are ways to avoid that. One of the ways to avoid that is to prioritize your produce. Now, here's what I mean by that. When I go grocery shopping, and clearly I'm vegan, so I'm bringing home a lot of produce. Immediately, I prioritize my use of it. Your berries need to be eaten first because your apples are easily going to last 2 or 3 weeks. Or even a month. Your berries are going to last 5 to 7 days. Your bananas are going to last 5 to 7 days. If you've got a whole lot of fresh fruit, it looks so pretty sitting out on the table, right? It does.
It does.
You have to prioritize how you eat it, or you're going to wind up throwing some things out. Your leaf lettuce needs to be made into salads before that head of cabbage, because that head of cabbage is going to last at least 3 weeks in the refrigerator. But your leaf lettuce probably is not. Prioritize your food. Know how you put it away. Know where you should store it, what the shelf life is, and know exactly what you can do in order to lengthen that shelf life a little bit. When you know those things, then you wind up throwing out significantly less fresh food, and you automatically lower your grocery budget. The fourth thing you need to know how to use store flyers. People use store flyers backwards, I have to say. They look at a store flyer and they think, ooh, that's on sale, that looks good. Mm-hmm. They use the that looks good method. All right. First of all, 80% of what's in that store flyer you should ignore because it's not real food. I'm just saying. And I am jaded when it comes to food. I totally admit that I am. I am a huge, huge proponent of fresh food and eating healthy food. I readily admit that I am. So most packaged foods hold absolutely no appeal to me because I know they're not that good for you. Mm-hmm. You need to look at the store flyer. Step one, ignore 80% of what's in it. Step two, you need to focus on single ingredient foods. So you're focusing on an item that you can look up. Actually, most of my items don't even have labels. You should be able to look at it and say, that's broccoli, that's cauliflower, that's lettuce, those are beans. Those are single ingredient foods. So if you really want to test whether you're doing this right now, think about what you've eaten in the past week. How many of those dishes were comprised of single ingredient foods? So you're making chili and you're not opening a can. Instead, you're putting the ground turkey in. You're putting the onions in. You're putting the garlic in. You're putting the beans in. You're putting the tomatoes in. Those are single ingredient foods. Now, you made that chili and you controlled exactly what was in it. Mm-hmm. Not only that, you just made it for a lot less than you could have bought that canned chili for. People live with the misconception that eating healthy costs a lot of money. Mm-hmm. It doesn't. It absolutely does not. I want to give you an example. Which is going to cost more and cost less and be better for you? 5 pounds of potatoes or that great big bag of chips? That huge bag of chips is going to cost you about the same amount as 5 pounds of potatoes. Mm-hmm. How long is it going to take your family to down that bag of chips? Maybe 20 minutes.
Maybe.
I have 4 boys, maybe 10. I mean, and when are they going to be hungry?
Right after they eat it, they want something else to eat after that.
Yes, ma'am, because that was just a snack. That wasn't no dinner. That was a snack. That 5-pound bag of potatoes, if you are a family of 4, I could show you how to use that 5-pound bag of potatoes in conjunction with other ingredients and feed your family for 3 meals. And do it with incredibly healthy ingredients. Mm-hmm. Eating healthy costs less. Single ingredient foods ultimately cost less than prepared pre-packaged food, especially if you are buying prepared dinners. I'm just telling you. Mm-hmm. That they're not good for you. You're not controlling anything. You're giving control of your health to a company that is putting all kinds of ingredients in there that if you read the label, I'd have a stroke because there are so many things in it that you don't want to be eating. Here's a great idea. If you're going to buy a packaged food, and I'm going to tell you right off the bat that I actually got this idea from Michael Pollan. He wrote a book called In Defense of Food. which is a great book, by the way. If you want a really interesting, not really long, read that is fascinating, read Michael Pollan's In Defense of Food. And he said his rule of thumb, and I adopted it, was the 5-ingredient rule. If you are buying something that's already in a package, look for ingredient labels that are 5 ingredients or less, and all the ingredients are in English.
Okay.
If that is true, you're probably buying a pretty good prepared, prepackaged product. And I've actually given this the test. This terribly backfired on me once, because my kids have known and we've had that rule for like probably 20 years. So I took my kids shopping with me to Sam's once, and like the sample lady, she had these, I don't know, they were like fruit flavored something. It said fruit in the label. She's like, would you like a sample of this? And my kids, because I don't buy like sweets. We actually reserve sugar for on the weekends. We only eat sugar on the weekends. And my son, who turns 16 tomorrow, is my sous chef. He makes us something sweet on the weekends. So they like never got that food. But the rule is if we were in Sam's and they were offering a sample, they could have it, because I'm like, I ain't buying it. So if you want a sample, go for it. And so they tried this fruit snack. And one of my sons, I don't even remember which one, was about, I don't know, 8 years old at the time, maybe 7, picked up the package. He had to be 8 because my kids could pretty much read by the time they were 8 or 9. He picked it up and started reading the label. And he goes, oh, Mom, high fructose corn syrup. Oh, Mom, red dye 40. Mom, look at that. And he wasn't being real loud, but he wasn't being really quiet about it either. And I looked at the lady's face and I said, well, honey, everybody has different standards for what they eat. And I want you to thank the nice lady for your sandwich. And we went on our merry way as I leaned down and very quietly, because I never yell at my kids. I don't yell at them much anyway, but in public, I never chastise them. I said, honey, just so you know, for next time, not everybody has our standards, and maybe you want to read the label and discuss it with me later. So yeah, read those labels. Do they have 5 ingredients or less? You're getting a good deal. And is it in English? All right, so how to prioritize, where was that? Yeah, store flyers.
Flyers, yeah.
That's where we were. That was just too fun of a story not to share, though. So tell your kids how to label read, but caution them ahead of time. Use my sad but true tale, and caution them ahead of time. Maybe they want to read that and discuss it with you at home and not in public. When you look at the store flyer, I want you to focus on what you already have on hand, because when you're looking at the flyer, I want you to have your list of ingredients that you already have in the house in front of you. So have that freezer sheet, the pantry sheet, and have that fresh foods sheet in front of you. All right. So you already know what you have on hand. Look at that store flyer with that in mind and say, oh, look, this would pair really well with this. So I want you to begin to sort of put recipe ideas together while you're looking at the store flyer. Look at fresh whole food ingredients, 1-ingredient foods that pair well with what you already have on hand. When you do that, you will spend less at the grocery store and your grocery bills will drop. There's one more thing you really need to focus on when you're looking at that store flyer. You want to focus on what are called loss leaders. Now, I have a background in broadcasting. I have a degree in radio and television. And when I was in college, I took an advertising class. It was my favorite class that I ever took, because I felt like I learned all these insider tips on how food manufacturers actually get you to buy their products. Now, one of the things they do that's really actually good is they will offer their products to grocery stores at a discounted price. So when you see what are called loss leaders, which are those items that are generally on the front or the back of the grocery store flyers, and they're offered at a really low price, the manufacturers use it to get their products in front of more people, because they are actually offering it for that period of time to the grocery stores at a discounted price. Some people don't know that. They actually are. And grocery stores are using it as a win because they're using it to lure you into the grocery store. So I want you to go and I want you to buy those things, but I want you to focus on those things because a lot of times those are the items that are actually whole food products and they're being offered at ridiculously low prices. An example is strawberries, a pound of strawberries in the middle of March for 99 cents a pound. That's kind of my buy price. If you know, wait a minute, this is what strawberries usually drop to. This is the lowest price they generally drop to. When they get to that price, I'm going to buy them. It was harder this year because there were limits on so many things.
There were, yeah.
And so I couldn't go and buy my half a flat of berries. I had to sustain myself on maybe 2 packages of berries because they were limiting everything. So that has been kind of hard with COVID and with the limits. But go ahead and go to the store and buy up to the limit. And if you have to go back later in the week and see if they're restocked, do that and buy up to the limit again. But when it gets to where we can buy larger like flats of stuff, berries freeze beautifully. All you have to do is hull them, put them in a single layer on a baking sheet, which has been lined with either parchment paper or one of those Silipat things. Freeze it until the berries are completely like frozen. Take them off of there, put them in a freezer bag, label them, date them, and you're eating 99 cent a pound berries in the middle of winter when they're at the store at that point for about $3 a pound.
Right.
And that is how you shop to help lower your overall grocery bills. So focus on those loss leaders and see if you can stock up on those items and actually put them in your freezer or dehydrate them for later use. Number 5, you need to know how to create a menu plan. You need to plan backwards. Most people create their menu plan by getting out cookbooks or by looking for recipes online and saying, oh, that sounds good, let's make that. That's backwards. To menu plan, you need to look at all the steps you just took and use those steps to your advantage. You need to look at what you have on hand, look at what you know you are buying at the grocery store that week, because you already have your grocery planned, right? You got your grocery run planned, and you did it based on those items that are on sale, the single ingredient items, and then you're going to use that list to create your menu plan. When you do it that way, you spend far less in the grocery store, and you use up items you already have in your house. You may average, like sometimes when we menu plan, we'll say, oh, we don't have, I don't know, let's say we don't have avocados. We don't have avocados on hand, but we really, really want to make this Tex-Mex salad. So that is probably going to go on my grocery list. And I'm probably going to pay whatever the lowest price is that I find in the grocery store flyers for avocados or find at grocery stores. You can easily go online now and check to see what your store is charging at that very moment for that item. Just go to Kroger.com if you're going to Kroger, push in avocados, and it's going to tell you exactly what they're charging at your local Kroger's for avocados. You can do the same thing with other regional grocery stores. You can find out exactly where the lowest price is for avocados and get it at the lowest price you can. It's not going to be the sale price, and so it's not going to be ideal. It's not going to be what you'd like to pay, but it's not going to be that much more either. Probably I wind up with maybe 4 or 5 items at the most that I have to add to the grocery list that I don't already have in the house or are not already on the grocery list that I've decided I'm going to buy at a discounted price. So it's really not that much. So you create your menu plan using those items. You're going to add a few things to that grocery list, but not too many. So that's going to help you save money because you're actually buying items at lower cost and using what you have in the house already. And plan a week at a time. Okay. Plan a weekly menu plan and make sure that you print it out and post it somewhere where the kids can see it, because that cuts way down the what are we having for separate thing. Go look at the menu plan. Then you know. Always work from a menu plan though, because you'll spend less time in the grocery store. Statistically, and I learned this from marketing too, they want you to visit your store several times a week. They really do. Because the more minutes you're in the grocery store, statistically, the more extra money you spend.
Mm.
It's not just what's on your list. It's what is in the grocery store that all of a sudden you're like, ooh, that looks good, and that looks good, and that looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that adds to it as well. The sixth thing you need to know is how to shop once you get to the store. We finally got you the store. Aren't you? The grocery store. We just spent the first 5 steps of what you need to know, not even in the grocery store. Now you're in the grocery store, and I'm going to tell you what you need to know about shopping in the grocery store. All right, the first thing that you need to know is where to shop. The least expensive, most nutritious items in the grocery store are located in the perimeter, all the way around the edges of the grocery store. Those are the fresh food items, and those are actually statistically going to cost you less than all the prepared stuff and the frozen stuff, all the stuff that's in the central core of the store. Shop the perimeter, shop it first. If you go into the interior aisles, make sure it's to get something that's already on your grocery list.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Shop markdowns. People are either unaware of markdowns or they think that markdowns means bad. That it's like on rancid and you're going to buy it and get it home and it's going to be, you're going to have to throw it back out. Not so. Grocery stores, for the most part, mark down items for a number of reasons. One of which is it is close to the sell-by date. Mm-hmm. The sell-by date is not the use-by date. It's the cannot legally sell it after this date. Let me give you an example. Milk, if you have a sell-by date of today, well, actually, it'll stay perfectly fine for you for another 5 to 7 days. That's really the use-by, not the sell-by. So if you're buying milk that the sell-by date is today, you can take it home, and as long as you use it within a few days, you're going to be fine. Mm-hmm. You can actually freeze milk, by the way. Mm-hmm. Open it up, take a few tablespoons, maybe half a cup, 3/4 of a cup out of the top of the milk jug. Okay. Put the lid back on, make sure that lid stays on, put it in your deep freeze. You can freeze it and then just thaw it. Shake it after you thaw it because it sometimes gets a little bit of weird separation. Mm-hmm. But that is a way actually to keep milk for later use. Let's say you get like a rocking good deal on milk. Yeah. As long as you've got freezer space, you can actually do that and save it for later use. That's like a bonus thing. I wasn't even planning this. All right. I get so excited about this. I'm like, oh, I need to share more and more. All right. So shop markdowns. Know where the markdowns are in the store. And if you don't know, don't be afraid to ask. The people in the store that work there are there to help you. So if you want to know when they mark down, for instance, produce, ask someone in the produce section. They are the ones who know when it's actually done. Don't ask the checkout person or ask at the courtesy desk or call the store and ask the person that answers the phone because they're probably the courtesy desk person. They don't always know exactly what happens in all the other departments of the store because sometimes these stores are awfully big. I mean, if you're going to a super Walmart, that's like huge, right? Mm-hmm. And so they don't always know exactly what happens in all the departments. So the easiest thing to do, if you call, ask to speak to someone in that department and ask them, when do you do your markdowns? Common times are like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning and then again at 5 o'clock at night, but that's not always true across the board. Stores, it's very individualized. They all do it at different times of the day. So if you call or you ask when you're in the store, when do you do your markdowns? They're usually really, really happy to help you. And you can time your visit for as close as you can get to that time of day so that you have the best array of markdowns that you can pick from. And they do markdowns primarily in all of the fresh food departments. They do it in the bakery, dairy, meat, produce, and then almost all stores have a general merchandise markdown area where you'll find canned and shelf-stable items that are being marked down. So shop those markdowns. The third step under know how to shop is follow your grocery list. You got to go with a written list to the grocery store. And I tell you, how many times have you gone to the grocery store, Tamara, and thought, I know in my head, I know what I need to buy. And you get home and realize, shoot.
Oh man, I forgot. One of the main reasons why I went. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man.
What is it? It's always that one item that you thought that was the whole purpose.
Yeah.
For in the first place. You got to have a list because otherwise you'll get home and it'll bite your heart. It just will. So follow your grocery list. And step 4, the final step, and then we're going to wrap up. I'll take any questions anybody has, is watch for sneaky marketing. Now, I know these things because I took that marketing course. People, if they see like special displays of an item, think it's on sale. Our brain associates, oh, look, they're showcasing these items. They've got them all grouped together on this nice display. Or look, it's on the end cap. The end cap are those short little shelves that are at the end of aisles. Those are end caps. People will see things there and think, these items must be on sale. Maybe not. That's a marketing thing that all stores do. They will group like items together. For instance, if you see pasta, right next to it is going to be pasta sauce.
Yeah.
Yep. And right next to that pasta sauce, they may even bring in some fresh bread from the bakery and put it right next to there. It's not on sale. They are trying to psych you out and make you cook Italian tonight. That's what's happening. Yeah. And those items may very well be for sale, but do not assume that they are on sale. So know how to shop at your grocery store. Now, before I take questions, I do want to remind everybody, I've got a great freebie. And so this ebook, actually, some of the material, like the family food pledge, that is in this ebook. But there are so many more juicy details and strategies in this ebook that I did not have time to cover today. So it's 10 steps to lowering your grocery costs, and you can request it absolutely free. And so I'm going to give you like a super secret insider tip. When you request my freebie, I'm going to follow up about an hour later, and you're going to get a second email from me with another freebie and a super secret password to my media library, where I have an array of other forms and checkoff lists and a couple of other ebooks in there, absolutely for free.
Wow. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That is a wonderful deal. Please take advantage of that. The link is on the screen, and we'll also put it in the comments as well when we're done with the broadcast. So if you have any questions for Hope, put them in the chat.
Thanks.
I'm not seeing any questions.
Awesome. Well, you know what, Tamara, I will check back later, like in the next 24 hours or so, and just check to see if you've got questions, drop them in the chat. If you're watching the replay, just drop it in the chat, and I'm happy to come back in the next couple of days and interact with you here.
Thank you so much, Hope. This has been some very good information. I'm going to go back and watch the replay myself to take some notes. This is very good information. And if you would like to join my private community to get some tips on eating healthier, please just click on the visit group button if you're watching this on Facebook. If you're on one of the other platforms, I will post a link and you can become a part of my free Facebook group and learn how, once you get those items at a good price based on what Hope has shared with us, I'll teach you how to prepare them so that you can have healthier meals. Okay.
Awesome. We make a great team, Coach Tamara.
We do. Thank you so much, Hope. It was wonderful having you. Thank you all for watching our broadcast. Join us back on Monday for our next episode of Welcome to Wellness. This has been Tamara Williams, Measure of Faith LLC. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks.